I had an opportunity to visit with Herman yesterday, and it's really obvious, beyond a reasonable doubt, that we are days, if not hours, from watching the state of Louisiana kill another innocent man behind bars.
Was he able to speak?
He's still able to speak a few words. Yesterday he asked me to put his cap on. The inmates had just bathed him, and he was without his cap. He was cold. His words are few and far between. He sleeps most of the time. His belly is distended. He's incredibly uncomfortable. And I think these will be his last few breaths before he joins the ancestors.
Compassionate release, is it a possibility?
I'm not sure in the state of Louisiana if compassion is part of the vocabulary of those who are in power. I always felt that compassionate release, or asking for compassionate release, was important in terms of like a multi-pronged effort to have Herman released. But there's been 42 years of the state continuing to deny Herman's due process.
I mean, 42 years in solitary confinement.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. He's the longest known serving in solitary confinement in the United States. And one of the things I think is important to illustrate, or that Herman's fight has been, is to illustrate the fact that the U.S. still employs the use of solitary confinement. There's over 80,000 inmates at any given time, and as you said, the highest incarcerator in the world, that are in solitary confinement, a 6-foot by 9-foot cell, a minimum of 23 hours a day. And it's an indefinite period that most people are in solitary confinement.
I wanted to play a clip of Teenie Verrett, the widow of the murdered prison guard. She was just 17 when her husband, Brent Miller, was stabbed to death in 1972. This is the murder that Herman Wallace was convicted of. This is Teenie Verrett from the documentary In the Land of the Free.
I've been living this for 36 years. There's not a year that goes by that I don't have to relive this. And it just keeps going and going. And then these men, I mean, if they did not do this, and I believe that they didn't, they have been living a nightmare for 36 years.
That was Teenie Verrett saying, if they did not do this, and she doesn't believe that Albert Woodfox and Herman Wallace did this, then they should not be serving these sentences.
You know, there's tens of thousands of people who believe that they did not do this. You know, I have absolutely no doubt that Herman Wallace, Albert Woodfox, and obviously Robert King are innocent.
And Robert King is out.
Yeah, Robert King was released in 2001 under investigation for the same crime and had just served 29 years of solitary confinement for a crime he didn't commit.
Malik Rahim, you are well known in this area. Yes, you ran for Congress. You helped save New Orleans after the Hurricane Katrina. You knew these men in prison. They say they were framed for this murder because of their political organizing. You were involved with that political organizing.
Yes, first I want to say that compassion and justice do not exist in Louisiana. Their confinement is based upon what the state called Black Pantherism. You know, that the Black Panther Party was just an organization of blacks who hated whites and was bent on killing them. And that's what they have based their conviction on. They stay in solitary have been basically because of that Black Pantherism. It has been used throughout their 41 years. Burl Cain have repeatedly said that even if they was found innocent, he would still keep them in solitary because of Black Pantherism.
I want to go to a clip of Herman Wallace in his own words describing the impact of solitary confinement on his body. This is from the film that just premiered this summer on POV called Herman's House.
Being in a cage for such an extended period of time, it has its downfall. I mean, you may not feel it, you may not know it, you may think that you're okay, and you just perfunctorily move about, you know. However, when it was removed from out of that type of situation and placed in an open environment where, you know, you're even breathing that oxygen and it's getting into your lungs and you're feeling something, you know, growing within you, and you begin to develop a different mode within your body. I even watch my body. I've looked in the mirror and I've seen muscles and begin to pop out there. I begin to run even faster. And I'm saying, oh, what the hell is going on here? Much was preserved. But then I got locked up again after 8 months. And being locked up like that, the whole body just got confused.
That was Herman Wallace describing solitary confinement. Jackie, you've talked to him a great deal about this.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I want to be clear about, Amy, is that the state of Louisiana has never relied on lethal injection to kill its incarcerated, right? There's a history, a documented history of neglect, abuse, cruel and unusual punishment, and what I would call lethal injustice, which is the denial and delaying of due process, or our so-called constitutional guarantees. And within that framework, you have men who are spending 40 years in solitary confinement. Yeah.
Jackie, you did something unbelievable with Herman Wallace. You wrote to him and said you wanted to build a house that he would design.
Yeah, it's unusual.
What was the question you put to him?
I was at Stanford University, full ride with stipend to study art, when I met Robert King. And it was really hard for me to...
One of the Angola Three, the one who was released.
The one who was released. It was just about 2 months after he was released. And it was really hard for me to contextualize my relative privilege to the situation that Herman and Albert were still enduring. And I knew that I had to do something, and you know, my greatest tool is my imagination. So I asked Herman what kind of house he dreams of after spending then 30 years in solitary confinement in a 6-foot by 9-foot box. And I did that with the hope that this would be the opportunity for him to just use his imagination to get out of that box.
I want to play a clip of Herman from Herman's house, where Herman Wallace describes what sort of details he'd like to see as part of his house.
Jackie, in your letter, you asked me what sort of house does a man who live in a 6-foot by 9-foot cell dream of. In the front of the house, I had 3 squares of gardens. The gardens are the easiest for me to imagine, and I can see they would be certain to be full of gardenias, carnations, and tulips. This is of the utmost importance. I would like for guests to be able to smile and walk through flowers all year long.
This is not just a figment of Herman Wallace's imagination, Jackie. You are building this house. You're here buying property for this house as Herman Wallace lays dying in a prison hospital.
Yeah, I made a commitment to Herman over 10 years ago that I would build his dream house, with the intention, as you said at the beginning of this segment, that this house is a testament to his imagination, to the triumph of the imagination, and to Herman's legacy, which will outlive his flesh and bones. You know, Herman's legacy, his commitment to the people, and the story of his injustice. And it's important to build this house in the incarceration capital of the world.
I want to go to the end of Herman's house, the documentary, where Herman Wallace describes a dream. Listen carefully.
I've had a dream where I got to the front gate and there's a whole lot of people out there. And you ain't gonna believe this, but I was dancing my way out. I was doing the jitterbug. I was doing all kind of crazy, stupid ass, you know. And people was just laughing and clapping, you know, until I walked out that gate. And I remember that dream, and I turned around, you know, and I looked, and there all the brothers was in the window waving and throwing a fist sign, you know. It's rough, man. It really is. It's so real, you know. I can feel it even now, you know, talking about that.
Herman Wallace describing his dream of freedom. Malik Rahim, your thoughts as we end today. As well, we don't know how many minutes or days Herman Wallace has left.
I believe that this is one of the saddest occasions in my life. It wouldn't have been a common ground if it wouldn't have been the Angola 3. And if it wouldn't have been a common ground, then the over 200,000 people that we serve in direct services, what would have happened to them? You cannot say that that justice prevail when you have individuals that under these harsh conditions, I mean going through the brutal summers, locked in those cells, and the coldest winters, locked in those cells, and still have enough compassion to help save this city that have literally forgotten him. You know, I mean, a common ground never would have been sent out the way it was. It was started by by Angola 3 supporter, Scott Crow. You know, it never would have happened without the Angola 3. And this is the reward that he get for saving this city and this area, is to die in a prison cell. You know, I mean, it's something that, you know, it leave a bitter taste in my mouth.